now I'm delighted to say that joining us, the new Newcastle editor from the Newcastle Chronicle, is Aaron Stokes, joins us on the We Are West Ham podcast to chat ahead to that game at the London Stadium on the weekend. Aaron, it's brilliant to have you with us, mate. Thanks for joining us. Probably, I would say, Newcastle are always a pretty interesting club to support. I think there's always a story around them, given the fan base and the general size of the club. This has got to be up there since the old Kevin Keegan, I'd love it if we beat them, Aspria, Shearer, Rob Lee days. Am I right?
Well, I mean, I think that's what fans are certainly hoping for in the coming years. Obviously, it might be a little bit too early to talk about the glory days when they're sat, 17th in the Premier League table. But yeah, look, if the club can stay up this season and bring in the sort of players that they've brought in already in January, then I think in the next sort of 2-3 years, then there's going to be a real optimism about the club that, like you say, they haven't really seen since the days of Sir Bobby Robson, at the turn of the century. So yeah, look, I think Newcastle fans are still very, firmly planted on the ground at the minute, purely because of where they sit in the table. Obviously, 3 wins in a row has helped with confidence. Fans aren't as doom and gloom as they were. But yeah, look, it's a fantastic time for the city, for the region, for the club. And yeah, fans are just over the moon with how it's begun so far.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's one thing, obviously, I've got to ask. Some people listening to this podcast and football fans sort of further afield will be completely bored to tears by it already. Others will be bored to tears by the fact that people aren't talking about it as much, or think they should be talking about it more. Obviously, the takeover and the source of the money. What's your thoughts on all of that?
Look, I think it's I've spoke about it a lot in the last couple of months, and I think it's important that the issues aren't just brushed over. There's while 80% or 85% of the fan base are buzzing with the takeover, there's of course about a small minority that aren't happy, and we have to take their views into account. We can't excuse what the Saudi regime do, and I don't think any Newcastle fan supports what they do. But I think it's important to separate the the football side of it. I've seen Newcastle fans get a lot of stick for not sort of deserting the club after the takeover, which is
really.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's
then people have got stick. I haven't heard many stories of people having done it, but let alone them getting stick for
I
it.
think a lot of people that are opposed to the takeover, I have seen stuff on Twitter that if they were a Newcastle fan, that they would just walk away. Now, look, it's easier said than done when it's not your club. Some people have followed this football club for 50 years. It's the highlight of their week. They pay their money every week to go and see it.
But it's like that for so many fans, Aaron, isn't it? It's so intriguing that, because I often think, and I think that's why football club owners get away with way more than they do or would in any other walk of society, because a human being, especially in the UK, a human's relationship with their football club is unlike almost anything else. That people have got husbands and wives, that the lifelong commitment is way more shaky ground than the idea that someone will support and follow the football club forever, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's very few things in any of our lives, football fans in particular, that is more certain will be a lifelong thing than the love for your football club, isn't it? It's just, and I think that's, unfortunately, that's sort of there to be taken advantage of by owners. They know that, don't they? And they know it will take almost, or basically non-existent for someone to be like, desert their club. It's just not a thing culturally that British people do, is it?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, it was sort of laughable that people were coming out and saying it now. Look, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I have spoke to some people that have said, maybe if they're like a member of the LGBT community, where they said, you know what, look, it's not going to feel the same supporting Newcastle anymore, and I've supported them all my life. So look, some fans are against it, but I think the important thing is how the fan base and the club go forward now. So that means, not sort of dressing in Saudi attire and, bringing Saudi flags to the ground. And, you know, stuff like that. And it, like I say, it's important not to just brush over it. You know, fans do have to have the conversation, but you know, hopefully, you know, this will be a positive thing for the club going forward. You know, despite you know the sort of air of negativity in one sort of side of it.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Yeah, it's completely incomparable because of the reasons we're talking about it. But I'll be honest, I don't feel the same about West Ham as I did when we played at Upton Park. That's not that I've completely fallen out of love with them, or that I'm not absolutely delighted by the quality of football that we're playing, or having been able to go and watch them away in Europe for the first time last month. None of those things apply. It's just it doesn't feel the same. And the way that the owners have treated the club in the last few years takes something away from my love of West Ham. It's not quite as sort of blindingly, one-sidedly, I love this club more than anything in the world as it used to be. It is tainted with sort of something else now, and that has been affected in the last few years. I'm sure that will be the same for lots of Newcastle fans, and it may be that if you do win the Premier League, there'll be a tinge, just a tinge. I'm not saying it will overshadow it or that you wouldn't enjoy it, but a tinge of a bit like when Man City do. That's how I feel. Whenever Man City win the league, I quite like them as a club, really, and their fans are good and all that sort of stuff. Whenever they win the league, it's never quite as exciting as when Leicester did it, or even when Liverpool did it a lot longer. I know their riches are in, you know, they've got loads of money as well, but I just sort of think when things happen organically in football, that's what it's about for more people, isn't it? So does that make sense?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, you know, as well as covering Newcastle, I've supported the club, you know, since I can remember. And, you know, the dream was always to see us win something. And I do get what you mean, because before this takeover, I was in the exact same boat about the likes of Man City, where, you know, I didn't really want Man City to win the league purely because, you know, they buy the league. So I think a lot of fans are going to have to wrestle with that should Newcastle you know, fans win anything. I mean, look, it's been that long since they have won anything that I think they'll take it by any means possible these days. But 100%, I get that. You know, the amount of money that's flown into football now, you know, in a 20, 25 years, you know, how many other clubs are going to be like this? I think it's the way football's going. You touched on it there, you know, West Ham. Obviously, you know, they aren't in the same bracket, but, you know, even moving from Upton Park, which, you know, fans loved, you know, sort of that soul is getting ripped out of the game, not just at Newcastle, but you know,
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think you know, should Newcastle win anything, like you say, it's not going to feel like a Leicester because you know they've got you know an entire country behind them. But like I say, it's just the way football's going, I think.
Yeah. No, I am with you, and I don't necessarily blame any Newcastle fans for because what can fans do really? I mean, we've seen plenty of protests against different things, and the Super League went away for the time being. I'm almost certain that will be back. But anyway, enough about that for the time being. Like you said, 3 wins on the spin, unbeaten in 4. The only slight drawback for you was that the defeat was a 1-0 home defeat to Cambridge United in the FA Cup, which isn't ideal. But yeah, Watford, Leeds, Everton and Villa, all sort of teams, winnable games you'd hope. It seems to have been the real, so that 1-1 draw with Watford, 1-0 win away at Leeds, beating 3-1, beating Everton 3-1 at home, and then Villa 1-0 at home on Sunday. Sort of seems like the Eddie Howe effect has really taken hold.
Yeah, look, I think he's found, well, for the minute, his best team. You know, obviously he's picked up a couple of injuries on Sunday with Kieran Trippier and Manquillo picking up knocks. But yeah, look, you know, Eddie Howe came in and he was sort of given a free reign, free slate. You know, fans were so fed up with the previous regime and the previous manager that Howe came in and he couldn't really do any wrong at the start. Didn't really get off to the best sort of start either. And I think, like I say, he was given time, Howe, but I think after the Cambridge defeat, there was the first sort of murmurings of, okay, that was maybe his fault for the loss. And I'm not saying patience was obviously going with him because he's still, you know, fairly new in the job. But I think these wins have came at a good time, both for the club and for him, because under Steve Bruce at the start of the season, there was so many games where they were winnable games, whether that was home or away, and Newcastle just couldn't pick up 3 points. So the fact that, like you say, they've went and beat 3 sort of rivals in and around them, in Leeds, Villa, and so look, they've came at a good time. The bottom of the league was starting to look a bit perilous. It's looking a bit better now. Look, the hope is that they can keep it going in the next month. The next sort of 3-4 games are winnable, or you can see them picking up points there. After that, it gets a bit more tricky with the likes of Chelsea and Tottenham and City and Liverpool before the end of the season. So, yeah, look, the wins have came at the right time. They were needed, and yeah, look, I think Howe, if he can keep this going, then I think they should stay up.
Yeah, I mean, not sort of out the water, of course, as you've alluded to there, but 23 games played, 21 points, 4 points above the relegation zone already, and I'm almost inclined to just because of the weakness of the teams under you, really, if you can pick up a few points in the next games. Obviously, I hope it's not against West Ham. Looking ahead to that game, then, Aaron, how do you think that's a different prospect to the games you've had recently? I mean, Aston Villa are no slouches under Steven Gerrard, but how are you sort of feeling looking ahead to that West Ham game on the weekend, and how do you think it's going to play out at Saturday, 12:30, early kickoff, London Stadium?
I think it's going to be a tricky one. I think especially, much trickier than the last sort of 3 games that they've had. Newcastle, I think they've only lost once in the last 5 games against West Ham, but obviously that one was at the start of the season. And I think obviously when the 2 teams met earlier in the season, I don't think, I certainly didn't predict that West Ham would be in the position that they are now. Moyes has got them playing, well. They had that little blip over Christmas, and they've sort of refound their feet in the last couple of games. So look, it's going to be difficult. It's never an easy place to go, early kickoff on a Saturday. But yeah, look, I think the team are confident now. They've got a few games under their belt. Howe sort of got the spine of his team sorted. There might be 1 or 2 changes in a couple of places due to the injuries, but I think he's happy and settled with his team now. So look, yeah, I think they're going into the game, with the best possible chance after recent weeks. But look, the table doesn't lie. West Ham are, rightfully favourites, and I think that, I think Newcastle fans travelling down there would, just take a point really, because I don't think anyone's really going in there expecting them to turn them over. But look, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, you know how it works in football. You just get a sense of whether you do well against a club or not. I just never feel like we do against Newcastle. I know we've had a few results, perhaps in more recent seasons.
Yeah.
But on the whole, having watched West Ham for 25-ish years, 20 to 25-ish years, semi-regular or very regularly now, I just never. Some teams you just think, brilliant. We've got, I don't know, whoever it might be, or we've got Watford this week, or like whenever we play Palace, I'm like, well, we'll obviously beat them because we just and Southampton. It's like, yeah, we always beat those teams. Newcastle, I always think, and it doesn't matter how well you're playing or how well we're playing. I just think, we never ever seem to beat these lot. Like never, home or away, we just always stink. And even going into this game, you're in decent form, and we're not. Quite frankly, I know that we're unbeaten in 3, but how we haven't been beaten in any of those 3 games is baffling and beyond me. One's Kidderminster Harriers, which we made a complete meal of.
Yeah.
The Watford game was one of the worst games of football I've ever seen, and won only by a lucky deflected goal by Jared Bowen. And we managed to make one of the worst, the most out of form Leicester teams for about 3 seasons look like peak Brazil for some periods of that game at Leicester, and we needed a handball from Dawson to rescue a point. So I don't feel good about the way we're playing at the moment. You're playing really well. I could easily see a Newcastle win.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm hoping that that's the case. To be fair, you've made me a little bit more positive and confident about Saturday.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. What? Just briefly then, mate. What style of play can West Ham fans expect?
Look, I think Howe came in and he always said he was going to try and play on the front foot, which was obviously music to Newcastle fans' ears, having to, watch sort of 3 years of Steve Bruce and, what was always quite negative tactics. So, look, I think they'll give it a good go. You can expect a lot of Alan St Maximin on the ball, trying to cause the defenders a bit of trouble. And yeah, look, I think they'll give it a good go. The shackles are sort of off these days. That they have been trying to get forward, and once or twice that has left them a bit vulnerable at the back. And I think the losing Kieran Trippier when he was playing so well after coming in is a big blow. So yeah, like I said, you'll see a lot of Alan St Maximin. They'll be trying to pop balls into Chris Wood, who will then try and bring players into play. Hopefully he can start finding his scoring boots, because he's looked a bit shy of confidence since joining last month. So yeah, I think they'll go there. And I think they'll give it a good go, especially with what I think is a sold out away crowd behind them.
Yeah, who'll be playing at left back up against Jared Bowen, because they'll be having the toughest day of anyone.
I'd imagine it'll be Matt Target back in.
He's decent player. Yeah, very decent player.
He had a good debut the other week. I think Newcastle fans are going to be quite happy with him. So
yeah. I thought that was a very, very good signing. That I've always rated him. I think he's an unfashionable player, but I've always rated him indeed. Aaron, look, it's a new Newcastle editor for the Chronicle. It's been brilliant having you with us on the show. We do appreciate your time. As always, before that game, Saturday lunchtime at London Stadium, West Ham v Newcastle, what's your prediction?
I'll go for a 2-1 Newcastle win.
2-1 Newcastle win. A bit of confidence in the opposition view. First time for a while we've had that. Aaron, it's been brilliant having you on with the show. We appreciate you giving us your time. Stay.